Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1. You will hear a conversation between a customer assistant at Abby's car hire and a customer. First, you will get some time to look at questions 1 to 10.
Good morning, Abby Car Hire. How can I help you?
Oh, hello. I'm calling to see if it's possible to hire a car for 3 days next weekend.
What size of car were you hoping to rent?
Well, something big enough for a family of 4 with luggage.
That would be a medium family car. Let's see. Yes, that shouldn't be a problem. There's plenty of availability. First, I need to take a few details. Can I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Stephen with a V. Chamberlain. That's Chamberlain.
Okay. And can I have your address, please?
Yes, it's 3 Hamilton House.
Oh, that's in Queen's Road, isn't it?
No, we don't live in Rowington. We're from Stretton. It must be a different Hamilton House. It's Market Street, Stretton.
And the postcode?
ST17 5BU.
And a contact telephone number. Your mobile is probably best.
Yes, let's see. It's 07934 854 552.
So, can you confirm the exact dates you wish to hire the car? From Friday, you said?
No, Saturday morning if possible. That's the 25th. What's the earliest we can pick it up?
Our office opens at 8 a.m.
Oh, not that early. I expect about 8:45 would suit us.
OK. 8:45 on the Saturday.
Before you hear the rest of the speech, you have some time to look at questions.
And you'll drop it off on the Monday?
Yes, April the 27th. That's right. We have a train to catch at 6:30, so we'd like to drop it off in the afternoon at about 4:30.
Actually, we offer a complimentary shuttle service to the station and airport. If your train's at 6:30, may I suggest a 5 o'clock drop-off? That will give you plenty of time. The shuttle bus takes no more than 20 minutes, even in the rush hour.
That's great. Thanks. That'll save us a taxi fare.
So the total charge will be, let's see, £87.50. That includes full insurance.
That seems reasonable.
I just need a few more details. Who is going to be the main driver?
I am.
You'll just need to bring your driving licence with you. You haven't got the number on you, have you?
Yes. Wait a minute. Yes, here it is. It's CHAMB 703161 SWLY 60.
And will you be the only driver?
Yes. My wife prefers not to drive when we hire a car. I've just remembered. We'll need a car seat for my youngest son. Is that possible?
How old is he?
4.
Yes, that's fine. I've added that to the booking form. There'll be a charge of £10 for the car seat. So that's everything. I'll just give you the booking reference number. It's B657D64.
Got that?
We'll send you a confirmation email with all the details.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You are going to hear from the manager of the Castle Hotel. She is addressing the guests about the Food Lovers Weekend. First, you will get some time to look at questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ireland. It's great to see so many of you here today, and I'm delighted that you have decided to join us here at the Castle Hotel for our special Food Lovers Weekend. Before I tell you about the main events we have planned for you, I'd just like to point out that tea and coffee and biscuits are available at the back of the room, so please help yourselves. So, the weekend's events start straight after lunch, which you can take either in the main restaurant to my right or in the garden terrace, which you'll find to the right of the main reception desk. This afternoon we are very excited to welcome local chef Laura Gallagher to the Castle Hotel. Laura will be showing you some typically Irish ingredients, many from her own garden, and explaining how good food needn't cost a fortune. She's also going to demonstrate a few famous Irish dishes, including Irish stew. As you may know, Laura runs her own award-winning organic restaurant about 10 miles from here, and I know a few of you are planning to eat there tomorrow night. I can highly recommend it. So those of you who have booked for this afternoon's session should gather in the demonstration kitchen, which is to the left of the main restaurant, by 1:45 p.m, so that we can get going promptly at 2 p.m. And I'm sorry, a few people have already asked me, but this session is now full. However, there are still places on the city bus tour, which will be leaving the hotel at 1:45. This will take you to all the main sites, and there will be a chance to stop off at the Riverside Museum and Cafe later in the afternoon. The coach will return from the museum at 5 p.m. promptly. Please note that entrance to the museum is not included, so you will have to pay on the door. But we do have a special discount, so that will be €8.50 rather than the usual €11.75. Tonight we have our 5-course seafood dinner in the main restaurant. Our head chef has really planned a treat for you. I've seen the menu and it looks fantastic. Please note that this is not at 7:30 as originally stated in your holiday itinerary, but at 8 p.m. There is a seating plan up in the main reception, so please check this before this evening so you know where you're seated. Oh, and one other thing regarding food. I've already had a couple of special requests from allergy sufferers, so please do let me know as soon as possible if you have any special dietary requirements. After dinner, starting around 10 p.m, if you still have the energy, we have Irish folk singer James Corrigan here to entertain you until the wee small hours. His family have been making Irish music for over 200 years, and he will treat you to both traditional and modern folk songs. He plays no fewer than 6 different instruments, including the bodhrán, a traditional drum, the tin whistle, and the Irish fiddle. Well worth staying up for.
Before you hear the rest of the speech, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20.
Tomorrow will be an early start for most of you who have booked on our culinary tour of the region. The restaurant will be open for an early breakfast from 6:30 a.m. and the coach will be leaving at 7:45 a.m. We have a packed itinerary and our first stop is at Mill Farm, where they still use traditional methods to make butter, cheese and other dairy products. You will have a chance to try your hand at churning the butter and shaping it using traditional butter beaters. Our next stop is the world-famous Oyster Cafe, where you can sample fresh oysters and other shellfish. I'm hoping the weather stays fine for this, as it's such a beautiful setting next to the harbour wall, and you may be able to see some of the fishing boats coming in with their catch. That will just be a brief stop, as the highlight of the morning will be our stop at the famous Mount Rees Baking School, where Chef Jonathan Park will be showing you how to make Irish bread and giving you some other baking tips. I'm told that Jonathan has a few surprises up his sleeve, and I know that he's keen on audience participation, so be prepared to get your aprons on and hands dirty for that one. Our lunch stop will be the Waterside Restaurant. It's a beautiful lakeside setting, and if the weather's fine, you'll be able to walk around the lake after your meal. Although lunch isn't included in the trip, the restaurant is offering you the special price of a 2-course meal at only €25 per person. Our route home takes us through some amazing mountainous landscape, and there will be chances to stop and take photographs before our final stop at the Wakeford Food Centre, which is a true retail paradise for food lovers. They sell all sorts of exotic and local ingredients, and there are always plenty of tasting opportunities. Be prepared to part company with some of your euros. We aim to arrive at the centre in time for afternoon tea, if you can manage any after your lunch. Our return to the hotel will hopefully be by 6:30 p.m, and there will be a chance to relax for a while before dinner at 8 p.m. And so to Monday. Well, the trip to the local farmers market still has a number of free places, so please let me know if you're interested. The price for transport there and back is €5, but of course you'll need to take along plenty of cash for all your purchases. Unfortunately, we have had to cancel the talk from cookery writer Mariah Kelly as she is unwell. But instead, for those of you who are having the cookery demonstration this afternoon, we are offering you a chance to visit the Riverside Museum. Or you may just decide to spend Monday morning relaxing and enjoying the grounds here at the Castle Hotel. Lunch will be at 12:30, and then the coach to take you to the airport will leave here at 2:30.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear an interview with a wildlife specialist called Alison Sharp talking about bears. In the first part of the discussion, they are talking about the history of the bear. First, look at questions 21 to 23.
She is the author of a recent book on bears, and we welcome her to the studio today.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
First of all, can you give us a quick overview of the history of the bear family?
Well, the bears we know today actually have as their ancestors bears which have been evolving for some 40 million years. We have fossils of the earliest true bear, and it's important to emphasize this because some creatures are called bears but are not.
Such as koalas, for instance.
Yes, exactly. Fossils of the true bear show a small dog-size animal with characteristics that show a blending of dog and bear traits.
So the general belief is that dogs and bears were of the same family?
Yes, that's the theory. And then we see the arrival of the early cave bear. We know from cave drawings that Neanderthal man used to worship this bear, and at the same time fear it.
Understandable, perhaps.
Yes, but they need not have worried because the cave bear only ate plants. In fact, the cave bear survived 2 ice ages, but then became extinct.
In the second part of the interview, Alison talks more about the situation of bears today. Look at questions 24 to 30.
So, how many bears can we find today? And are any of them in danger of extinction?
Well, I'll answer your first question first. There are 8 species of bear in all, among them the American black bear and the brown bear, from which evolved the newest species of bear, the polar bear.
So, how old is the polar bear?
Oh, he's a relative newcomer, just 20,000 years old.
And could you tell us a little about them? Which is the largest bear, for instance?
Well, the largest bear existing today is either the polar bear or the brown bear.
Right. Don't we know?
Well, it depends which criteria you use. The polar bear is the heaviest. The male weighs up to 1,500 pounds, but his narrow body actually makes him look smaller than the much more robust brown bear.
So, the brown bear appears the biggest.
Yes.
And the smallest?
Well, the sun bear is the smallest of the 8 species. They only weigh between 60 and 145 pounds.
That makes him a comparative junior.
Yes. And then next we have the so-called giant panda. But that's a small bear too, comparatively speaking.
And are all bears meat eaters?
No, not at all. In fact, the giant panda is almost entirely herbivorous, living on a diet of 30 types of bamboo.
Ah, yes, of course. Pandas are famous for that.
And another interesting bear is the sloth bear, which eats insects, particularly termites. He can turn his mouth into a tube and suck the insects out of their nests.
So, going back to my second question, are bears really in danger of extinction?
Yes, indeed, they are. The sun bear in particular, as they've been hunted almost out of existence. And the habitat of the panda is also being reduced on a daily basis.
Can anything be done to reduce the threat to these endangered species? I know, for instance, that it's very hard to breed bears in captivity.
Yes. Well, I think that by raising people's awareness generally, we can reduce conflict between humans and animals, to stop the slaughter in parts of the world where bears are still hunted, supposedly in self-defense or to protect livestock, but often quite unnecessarily. And we can also encourage governments to preserve the natural environment of the bear, rather than allow the areas where they live to be systematically destroyed in the name of progress.
Yes, of course.
And in addition to these global efforts, all profits from the sale of my book will go toward the United Nations Bear Protection Program.
That's wonderful. And with the news coming up, thank you for your time, Alison, and best of luck with the book.
Thank you very much.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a lecturer talking about the solar eclipse in history. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Good evening and welcome to this month's Observatory Club lecture. I'm Donald Mackay and I'm here to talk to you about the solar eclipse in history. 1,000 years ago, a total eclipse of the sun was a terrifying religious experience. But these days, an eclipse is more likely to be viewed as a tourist attraction than as a scientific or spiritual event. People will travel literally miles to be in the right place at the right time to get the best view of their eclipse. Well, what exactly causes a solar eclipse when the world goes dark for a few minutes in the middle of the day? Scientifically speaking, the dark spot itself is easy to explain. It's the shadow of the moon streaking across the Earth. This happens every year or two, each time along a different, and to all intents and purposes, a seemingly random piece of the globe. In the past, people often interpreted an eclipse as a danger signal heralding disaster, and in fact the Chinese were so disturbed by these events that they included among their gods one whose job it was to prevent eclipses. But whether or not you're superstitious or take a purely scientific view, our earthly eclipses are special in 3 ways. Firstly, there can be no doubt that they're very beautiful. It's as if a deep blue curtain had fallen over the daytime sky as the sun becomes a black void surrounded by the glow of its outer atmosphere. But beyond this, total eclipses possess a second, more compelling beauty in the eyes of us scientists, for they offer a unique opportunity for research. Only during an eclipse can we study the corona and other dim things that are normally lost in the sun's glare. And thirdly, they are rare. Even though an eclipse of the sun occurs somewhere on Earth every year or two, if you sit in your garden and wait, it will take 375 years on average for one to come to you. If the moon were any larger, eclipses would become a monthly bore. If it were smaller, they simply would not be possible. The ancient Babylonian priests, who spent a fair bit of time staring at the sky, had already noted that there was an 18-year pattern in their occurrence, but they didn't have the mathematics to predict an eclipse accurately. It was Edmund Halley, the English astronomer, who knew his maths well enough to predict the return of the comet, which incidentally bears his name, and in 1715 he became the first person to make an accurate eclipse prediction. This brought eclipses firmly into the scientific domain, and they've since allowed a number of important scientific discoveries to be made. For instance, in the eclipse of 1868, 2 scientists, Janssen and Lockyer, were observing the sun's atmosphere, and it was these observations that ultimately led to the discovery of a new element. They named the element helium, after the Greek god of the sun. This was a major find, because helium turned out to be the most common element in the universe after hydrogen. Another great triumph involved Mercury. I'll just put that up on the board for you now. See, there's Mercury, the planet closest to the sun, then Venus, Earth, etc. For centuries, scientists had been unable to understand why Mercury appeared to rotate faster than it should. Some astronomers suggested that there might be an undiscovered planet causing this unusual orbit, and even gave it the name Vulcan. During the eclipse of 1878, an American astronomer, James Watson, thought he'd spotted this so-called lost planet. But, alas for him, he was later obliged to admit that he'd been wrong about Vulcan and withdrew his claim. Then Albert Einstein came on the scene. Einstein suggested that rather than being wrong about the number of planets, astronomers were actually wrong about gravity. Einstein's theory of relativity, for which he's so famous, disagreed with Newton's law of gravity in just the right way to explain Mercury's odd orbit. He also realised that a definitive test would be possible during the total eclipse of 1919, and this is indeed when his theory was finally proved correct. So there you have several examples of how eclipses have helped to increase our understanding of the universe. And now let's move on to the social aspects, and I think you'll find...
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.